Looks like the worm has turned for Donald Trump and the Latin vote, including a whole group that defected from Biden and Kamala Harris, the Democratic Party, to vote for Donald Trump. They want their vote back. The red wave among the Hispanic population, it's now down to a trickle. And because it's turned and almost flipped in support for Donald Trump, putting him well underwater in his disapproval ratings, it bodes well for Democrats to recapture the House and the Senate, because the only one really on the ballot come a midterm election is the incumbent president, Donald Trump. He's got no one to blame. He can't blame Kamala Harris, can't blame Joe Biden, although that has never stopped him before. It's really just a referendum on the Trump administration and on MAGA, and now on that budget that's now been passed, which sets his priorities down in concrete. And we're going to put it around his neck like a millstone and sink this administration. Let's return to the Hispanic vote. The defection of the Hispanic vote in large numbers, including those that Kamala Harris counted on, that sided with Donald Trump, presumably based on new polling because they want to change, not necessarily Trump. Now that they've seen what he's done to the economy, wrecking it, now that what they've seen that they've done to immigration and deportation, which they don't like, and that's putting it mildly, they are abandoning in large numbers Trump. Independent Hispanics, especially Gen Z Hispanics and young men Hispanics and women Hispanics, are leading the charge. I'll cover it all right here because it's important as we sit at the intersection of law and politics to understand how Donald Trump's politics are filtering down to the polling. I'm Michael Popok, traveling but making reports here on Legal AF. All right, let's jump into the new polling. And the polling disaster for Donald Trump. Take the plane up just 5,000 feet and let's look down. The disapproval rating for Trump among all Hispanics is a lot. It is now at 63%. 63% of Hispanics overall disapprove of Donald Trump and what he is doing. If you look at the Biden defectors, those people that voted for Biden but voted for Trump the last time around, which helped turn the tide in many places. You've seen the map, a lot of red there, a lot of red where there used to be blue or purple. A part of that was being driven by Hispanics voting for change, not necessarily for Trump, who abandoned the Democrats that last election and voted for Donald Trump instead. Of the Biden defectors, all of which who voted for Donald Trump, now 51% of them disapprove of the Trump administration, meaning he's lost about half of those people. They want their vote back. If you go to within that group of Biden defectors, immigration, 64% of the Biden defectors, Hispanic, voting for Donald Trump, 64% disapprove of his immigration policy. In the young Hispanic group, this was a group that voted, surprisingly, in large numbers for Donald Trump. Trump won against Kamala Harris. The young Hispanic vote, 54 to 43% by 11 points. Where is he now? Just a couple of hundred days into his administration? It's completely flipped. He's lost the young Hispanic vote. Only 44% of them approve of what he's doing. 55% disapprove. That's almost a mirror image of flip. 11 points. They voted for him. Now he's underwater. -11 in disapproval rating. On the economy, Hispanics now trust Democrats more than Republicans. And can you blame them or anybody? They now think that in terms of cost of living, the economy in general, they trust Democrats plus 15 points over Donald Trump. Let's look at independents in women in the new polling on the Hispanic vote. And I'm focusing on the Hispanic vote, not just because I relocated to Miami and I have friends in the community, but it was important to explain how Kamala Harris lost and the Democratic Party lost by so much, and whether we can count on this vote come the midterm elections. On the Latino independent side, those that are independent, only 43% of Latin independents agree with what Donald Trump is doing and approve of his administration. 57% have rejected it. Women and independents, women only agree with the Trump administration. Women Hispanics only agree with the Trump administration. Get this number, 29% of the time. 70%, of course, on the other hand, do not agree with them. And the vote in general, as I said, is trending away. I mean, there are people who want, in the Hispanic community, that want their vote back. Now, look, I have a unique vantage point. I lived in Miami during the first two Obama wins and the loss of Hillary Clinton, and of course, the win ultimately by Joe Biden. I was a poll watcher. I was a lawyer for the Democrats as well, inside of precincts, making sure that there was voter and voting integrity. And I have, as I said, a lot of friends in the business and law community that are of Hispanic descent. The Republicans could always count, since the Bay of Pigs invasion in the 1960s and how JFK handled that or mishandled that, they can always count the Republicans on the older Cuban vote. The younger Cuban American vote, and this makes up 70%, for instance, of Miami-Dade County is Hispanic, a little bit over that. 50% of that vote is Cuban. The rest is split between all other groups that identify as Hispanic or Latino, Venezuelans, Brazilians, Mexicans, and the like. It used to be the case, I'm talking about 10, 15 years ago, that older Cubans, first generation here, voted overwhelmingly, 80, 90, 100% for Republicans. But their children and their grandchildren would start drifting away. They've now been able to get back almost a large percentage, a supermajority of Cubans, old and young, professional and otherwise, vote for the Republicans. But what I told people 10, 15 years ago, which is no longer the case, is that new incoming Hispanics into Miami, Venezuelans, Brazilians, Mexicans, Peruvians, Chileans, and the rest, they were trending 70% or more for Democrats. Those days are over. After years of the Republicans focusing on Spanish language radio with a lot of propaganda against no other way to put it, against Obama first, against Biden second. I was there. I heard some eye-poppingly disgusting things being chanted and sung and said out loud about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris the first time in 2020 when I stood outside the polls in Coral Gables, Florida. Things that were shocking to me, having worked that exact same location 4 years earlier or 8 years earlier. So that demonstrated to me that the Republican Party had been successful in years of working the Hispanic community and scaring the crap out of them into believing that Democrats are socialists, Marxists, communists, dictators, and what they end up voting for, a dictator, a petty dictator who is now chasing after many people that they know and love, work with, or otherwise in raids across places like Miami and in Texas. Let's give you an example. The Rio Grande Valley, the New Yorker magazine just did a great report on this. The Rio Grande Valley in places like McAllen, Texas, which Hillary Clinton won in that area against Trump by upwards of 40 points, 40 points, with a large Hispanic population. Donald Trump ended up winning this last time against Kamala Harris by about 10 points. So he went from negative 40 to plus 10 in places like McAllen, Texas, and the Rio Grande Valley. But now there's also anecdotal reporting and polling that shows he is losing the Hispanic vote in those places. And it is currently going to the Democrats. I mean, when you announce in mid-June through a social media truth tweet that you're giving truth notice of sponsoring and running the biggest mass deportation program in history, with 3,000 people being arrested, rounded up and arrested and deported and removed a day, that's going to send a chill down the spine of people, some of which are here, some of which are naturalized, although Donald Trump's going after naturalized citizens again. Some of them are dreamers under the DREAM Act, now been attacked and ripped away by executive order by Donald Trump. Some are here through marriage, through some sort of visa or other immigration status. And if they are not worried because they've got a green card or because they're citizens or whatever it is, I trust you. There is 1 degree of separation between them and people in their lives who don't have proper status and are now in the crosshairs of the Trump administration. Of course, it's having an impact on the Hispanic vote. But that could be the canary in the coal mine in terms of Donald Trump's support at the midterms. If he loses, and I say if, it's looking more and more like when he loses the independent vote, which is now turned against him. Get this number, 70% of independents are against Donald Trump, 70. Only 30% think he's doing a great job. And they gave him the benefit of the doubt. They voted for him in the 60% range against Kamala Harris. He's lost the independent vote. It's another way of putting it, right? Women, who he did better with than he should have. He overperformed with women, Donald Trump. Disgusting proposition, by the way. But they're now abandoning him. The young Gen Z voter that was always looking for change, it's sort of the same group that's currently supporting the socialist mayor candidate for New York, got behind Bernie Sanders. They seem to love the socialist wing of the Democratic Party. Where I stand. I'm a moderate. I'm a Clinton, Obama, Kennedy centrist Democrat, but I understand the value of having different voices in our tent. I'm just not a socialist. So, this, and I'm not branding anybody. This is self-proclaimed. I mean, AOC is a Democratic socialist. Bernie Sanders is a Democratic socialist. That's where they align. And so is the guy running for mayor in New York. But the Gen Z groups that got behind all the excitement about that wing of the party, they've now abandoned Donald Trump in large numbers. So you cannot win if you don't get the Biden defectors, the Hispanic women, the Hispanic independents, the Gen Z people overall, and the independents. When I say you win, and winning and losing here, this is pass-fail at the midterms for Donald Trump. What we need to accomplish, and it's hard work, and it's not going to come from me talking into a microphone. It's going to come from but it's going to come from joining together and a unity campaign here on Legal AF and on the Midas Touch Network, because we vibrate on that same frequency. It's very, very important that we win the Senate, we win the House. When Donald Trump is the only one really on the ballot, it's just R. R is on the ballot, and you got to vote D up and down that ballot in order to return the checks and balance and the equilibrium of our democratic system. Donald Trump's upset about Elon Musk forming a third party, but he has been unique or singular among all presidents to exploit the two-party system. It used to be our strength, having two viable parties vying for the affection, the attention, the policy concerns of ordinary Americans and citizens. That used to be our strength and a strength of our stability. But when Donald Trump exploits the fault lines between the two parties and pits us at each other and puts us seething at each other's throats, that is an exploitation of the two-party system. No doubt the people are looking for a third party because we're one party short of a two-party system as it is. We got a party in one hand, the Democrats, who have some work to do to earn the trust of the American people again. I don't take the polling numbers. I'm not going to take that to the bank. You have to earn their respect. You have to earn their trust. They are a party out of power right now, but there is a way to demonstrate what they would do with the government back in their hands. So you have that, right? But I understand it with the work to do. You got the party on one side, you got the cult that has fascist tendencies on the other side, led by Donald Trump. So we'll continue to follow Donald Trump's polling loss in large groups of his constituency, his coalition that he put together to win, and what it means for the midterm elections. You're here on Legal AF already. We have no paywall. The way you vote for this type of reporting on Legal AF is you hit the subscribe button, which I'm asking you to do. Legal AF, the podcast, Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Midas Touch Network. Top rated because of you. We're humbled by that on podcasts. And then we've got Legal AF, the Substack, and Legal AF, the YouTube channel. So it's one-stop shopping for all things Legal AF at the intersection of law and politics. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.